Chainsaw Massacre Part 2, and you are listening to The Movie Raid.
It's time for the movie raid, and tonight's victim is Bill Johnson. I played Leatherface and Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. What's up, Bill?
Yes.
What are you doing?
I can say that on radio?
Yes.
Oh.
What the fuck are you doing?
Well, I solemnly swear I'm up to no good.
Good.
Start with, yeah.
Always the best.
Yes, well, old ways are best.
Oh, yeah. Considering your past.
Well, yeah.
So what's these new films that you're working on? One of them is called John, and the other one is called Bone Boys, or at least that's two of the ones that you've been working on. What's going on with John?
John is in almost completed in post-production. It's the brainchild of William Instone, the writer-director. He did much of the photography, but he had a really great cameraman who spent a lot of time going over the world and going to hot spots and covering like wars and things. So David is really pretty awesome. And John is a psychological thriller about John Sloan, who is, he had a childhood friend that no one else could see, but he could. And this childhood friend he called Blackie, and he was an older man, looks just like William Instone, and who's very goth-looking, and shows John how to do things that are fun, like pull the wings off of flies, and...
So basically he's just some demented fuck and the opposite version.
There it is. So his mom, John's mom, takes him to a hypnotherapist and does a hypno job on him. And John doesn't show up until later in life when he's working in an office, and he's late, 20s. And Blackie shows up again, and it's like no time has passed. And they're back in the thick of it, and Blackie shows him how to work the serial killer circuit.
A little bit kind of like The Good Son in a way, except there's no alternative personality.
Yeah, right. Yeah, this is just him, and he's bothered. He's very split about it, which is why he seeks out, even though he's not religious, he seeks out a Catholic priest that I play.
Ah, okay.
Father Johnson, don't you know? Sure thing. And he goes to the confessional, and as his as his crimes escalate, his confessions become more and more strange and hostile.
Mm-hmm.
And they go from confessions to bragging rights.
Ah.
Yeah. And there's a really, I think, a real interesting ending, which I'm not going to give away. Got to go to the theater or get the DVD at least. And William is a musician and a composer, and he's put all the music together. And I think this is going to be a really sweet, interesting, gritty, psychological ripper.
Is this an independent film, or is this actually... Yeah. It is?
Independent film.
And it's actually going to DVD, direct to DVD, or is it actually going to be shopped around?
I do not know what his logistical plans are for this film. He's been doing it on his own, and little by little, and he's been working on the sound and doing ADR, and I think that's just about completed. So he's on Facebook, William Instone, and John, Jon, and with those two names, one or the other, you can find his webpage as well as the trailers that are on YouTube. So I think that's going to be a nice one.
So this is pretty much a straight thriller type film, but I mean, there's a lot of horror films that are just straight, I guess they would call torture porn, with just nothing but blood and guts.
Yeah, this is not that kind of film. This is it's kind of like crime drama with horror, with horrible things happening to people. But it's
Is this CGI or is it pretty raw?
Oh, it's raw. It's sort of like Tom Savini. He doesn't do CGI. He builds it. He
Oh
makes
yes,
it. So,
indeed.
and I think that delivers a much more satisfying experience in terms of what the audience member receives.
Yeah, a lot of films, of course, today does that all the time now. But I mean, do you actually prefer for horror films to be that way, to be raw instead of having so much of the CGI stuff and this and this and this? I mean, it's good tools, but sometimes it's been abused.
Right. If it's used judiciously and if it's done well, if it's well done, you can't tell. But sometimes you just tell it's CGI, and then it's pretty much next to boring. When you can't tell, you don't want to get ahead of the movie. You don't want to get ahead of the plot. Oh, I know where this is going, and you head them off at the pass, and then it's a boring deal.
Yeah, for sure. But where was this located on the film? What's this based in? Is it in California? Or...
All in and around Austin area here in Texas.
There's actually a lot of good films that are filmed on location on Austin, Texas. A lot of good films come out that way.
Yes, this is the creative community here is large and incredibly vigorous and rich in talent, though not so much in dollars. The creativity shows up in the way they take things that are found or donated and turn them into something that's really quite interesting and screen worthy.
What about the other film, Bone Boys? You know anything about that?
Bone Boys is an indie film with a much larger budget than John. I think John's budget was like $5,000. I mean, but he's got like 600% of more in value in the way it looks and sounds. It's just taken quite a while to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Boys has a much larger budget, and the directors, Dwayne Graves and Justin Meeks, and this is the second movie I've done with two directors, and they work together awesomely. Kim Hinkle is a writer and producer. As you know, Kim wrote for the Chainsaw movies, and he directed the fourth one. And Derek Lee Nixon is sort of the main lead there. There's some really fine talent, and it's very twisted. It's a very twisted idea of what they're putting. It's a gut-wrenching, non-stop roller coaster ride through the hellish underbelly of inner-city America. And that's what it is.
It almost sounds political there.
Yeah, Kim's a college professor as well as his other credits, and so it's rich in diversity and weirdness. So that's always a nice thing, and it's got a really nice high twisto factor. My character is this sort of a pedophile baker, Mr. Grimm, and yeah, there are a lot of cameos in there. I mean, there's me, Marilyn Burns, Edwin Neal.
Nice.
Sonny Tuft jumped into my head, but it's certainly not Sonny Tuft. Though Sonny Tuft in his day was a huge star. Sonny did a lot of indie films here. He did stuff out in L.A., and he's also a singer with the Uranium Savages, an old, long-established headband here in Austin.
Now, would you say, since you've been in film for so long, do you ever thought of forming your own company down the line? No? I mean, you also write, too, so...
That might be coming up in the future, but as it is not on the horizon as of yet. I'm collaborating right now on a song. I wrote lyrics, and I shared them with vicious, and it's so. I'm really, really excited about what the final result is going to be. I'm just leaving it totally in her hands. The lyrics are sort of an apocalyptic, end of the world scenario song, and so I'll when it's finally done, I'll get in touch and give it a listen and see if you want to do anything with it.
Oh, is this something you've been going off and on over the years, or is this something brand new to you?
Well, this is brand new. I've been writing short stories and poetry for a while, and then I jumped into the haiku form, and that's a really interesting form. And then just one day, this lyric came to me with some melody, and I wrote it down and I recorded it just so I could be sure and remember the tune. And then, like a year or two later, it came back almost like Blackie from John, and it just got me by the throat and said, "Listen," and just lots of lyrics showed up. So I said, "Okay, let's get it on paper. Let's get it down." And so I just spent a week or two with that, and I started polishing it up. And there are a lot of open mics here for people who want to read their poetry or stories or do songs they write, and it's really a great opportunity. So I took it to a place over at Thrace Cafe here in South Austin, and it got a really nice reception, just as like a poem. So I mean, and Mary, she thought it's right up her alley. So she's been working real hard on it, and I've heard some of the rhythm and beat tracks to it, and it's rocking. I mean, it's on fast forward. So I'm excited about it, how this is going to show up.
Well, rock on, man. So back to the independent. Do you think it's kind of like the last hope in a way, to as far as horror in film today? There's a lot of horror films that's been released over the last, let's say, 5 to 10 years, and there's a lot of them that are mainly remakes or prequels, or just didn't really quite make it.
Yeah, they don't make it.
There's just a lot of them that look like pretty cool, but then they just don't make it anywhere. But do you think independent is pretty much the way to go for this?
Well, I guess it depends on what your goal is. My guess, strictly a guess, that when we see a mainstream film, including mainstream horror, it's based on a business model, corporate business model, which is often based on, hey, what's been working before? Let's do that, but add ingredient X, something a little different maybe, or whatever we believe has worked in this previous franchise, let's just crank it up, the intensity of whatever it was. And I think that worked for a little while, and it's not working anymore. So usually we're finding that, I think what's working from the independents is that they're synthesizing new stuff, a fresh approach, which, the artist explorer is, that's their deal. That's what they do. They go to places no one else has gone, and where the corporate machine won't go, because they don't want to risk the money.
Yeah.
Their deal is, not only do they don't want to risk it, they're not allowed to.
I know that some of them have their own companies because they want to do whatever they want to do, because the main companies won't let them do it.
Exactly right. Exactly right. So, and plus things are happening really fast.
Yeah, it's increasingly becoming more difficult each year that goes by, because you got all this shit happening. You got the economy still shit. You got gas prices still going up, and you got whatever political bullshit still happening. It's still fucking us over. And the film industry they're just repeating itself over and over every film.
Lagging behind. The old model worked on a very stable culture, very stable economy, and things are moving so fast. The old-fashioned machine doesn't keep up with it, and it's not a creative machine. What it is like a combining machine. It can reorder and reformulate things already
Yeah.
You know, and wow, you go, yeah, that's what I've been waiting for.
Yeah, it's that wow factor, man. It's like you've been waiting for it for so long, but you keep still seeing the same shit that keeps being released. Like it's already been done like so many times. I mean, how many times do we got to see a shark horror film?
Yeah.
It's like every year, attack of 500 sharks coming to theater near you. It's like, oh my god. It's like, no, I'd rather just go watch Jaws. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. Because the first one was the best one, and everything else is This is the child's painting of the Last Supper.
Yeah.
This is my 5-year-old's Mona Lisa. What do you think? Sorry, I think I'll go to the Louvre and see it for real.
Yeah, because the original film scared the hell out of everybody at that time.
Yeah.
That's what made history right there. Same thing with Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original one. Boom, it scared the shit out of everybody. Everyone started talking about it, saying that, oh, I know so and so that really did that, or they say they're based on real events. No, but that's what made them believe it. That's what made it a damn good film.
Yeah, it was an amazing leap into like doing a museum installation. But it's a film. It really opened up a new, it broadened the box. It jumped outside. This was a box that jumped outside the box. It's like a Mobius strip.
Yeah.
So, and then people, hey, I want a bigger, faster Mobius strip. Hey, I want a 12-dimensional Mobius strip.
Yeah.
Pretty soon we've exhausted the Mobius strip, and now what are we going to do?
And the thing is, like, now they just we see the horror films that we know, but now it's 3D. It's gone. Okay, so now we're going to watch it on 3D. Okay. Except it's like a remake, but it's in 3D.
And darker.
And darker.
Harder to see, and, ever so more disappointing. However, they're up at the plate swinging, and that's...
But it's also almost a dying breed now, the horror genre, and sci-fi is finally picking up a little bit better. But horror, it's just gone. It's going and going every year. You only see maybe, let's say, between 5, max total, maybe 5, 10 actual horror films come out. But the rest of it, it's just other genres. Like you got drama, chick flicks, and so forth, like 3D kid films and stuff like that.
Well, the definition is changing. The profile is shifting.
Yeah.
Films used to be like Edgar Allan Poe, which were really sort of moralistic, cautionary tales. And then it went to more sort of reality, not reality TV, but reality filming of looking at what appeared to be actual brutality without much of anything in the way of a moral. And the moral, the lessons to be learned soon got shorter and shorter, and they disappeared. And then it was, this is us visiting the home of serial killer, and we're going to follow them, and we're going to be in their head, behind their eyes, like being John Malkovich. But John Malkovich is now, a baby raping, serial killing, spree killer, who's a child molester as a day job.
Yeah.
And after a while, we get blunted, because of the physicality of our brain. The opiate receptors that receive the stimulants from the brain that have been stimulated by whatever is usually it's what on the screen is something we can see and hear from the speakers. And I remember when I thought Goldfinger was like insane, man. What did they do? They took this giant, beautiful car and they crushed it with a dude in it. Man, that must have cost a fortune. Oh, and that beautiful vehicle's gone, and they're just gonna melt it down. Huh. Wow, that's so. Now that's part of the general, a G-rated movie.
Yeah.
And nothing. They have to keep pumping up. It's like anything, in addiction. The first hit is the best, and after that, you got to keep upping the dosage until no amount of dosages will give you even a buzz anymore. crashes than any other movie ever thought of. I mean, they must have wrecked about 300 vehicles. I mean, look at the Saw franchise. It started, man, the first or second one were pretty good after that. They kept cranking up the weirdness, the creepiness, the skeeviness, and the, as you see, torture pornness of it. And then, dumb.
Yeah.
What else you got? Got any other flavors?
Yeah. That's just how it is now these days. But that's why I said back to the independent. There's a lot of interesting ones out there, but again, it goes back to the financial part where these companies or that either won't let them do it or won't pick them up. Just like with the whole band scenario when they're trying to get a record deal, no one wants to pick them up. That sounds so good.
They don't want to. They can't. Not only they might want to risk the money. One of the things about corporate structure is, if you risk the possible profits without due diligence and just, probable cause, and if it loses, you're liable to go to jail. If not, lose all your money and go to jail besides. So it just prohibits any kind of adventurous experimentation, which is the artist's bailiwick. That's where they live. So as we see more and more independent artists in lots of different fields are getting out to the internet, they're getting a skillion hits, and bingo, the corporate eyeballs go, there it is. There's our raison d'etre to invest, and then they get bought up or they get distributed.
Yeah, and then they say, hey, we're going to change some things, okay?
Just a few.
A lot of writers get that every day, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's the same old song, and in the larger version, in the larger sense, that thing we're talking about, you put a frame around it, and that's the real horror story.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. When you step back out of the frame you're in and look at, what you were, looking at, sort of where you were, sort of looking at yourself, looking at that stuff, then you go, oh yeah, that is scary. It's really scary.
All right, man, we're running out of time, but your last thoughts on what do you think the film industry in general, as a whole, what do you think it's all about, in your opinion?
Show business?
Yeah, in general.
Word is business. So they've got a huge machine to keep going, and they're not evil. They're just stuck. That's all. They're just stuck in a business model that's not quite filling the bill. They'll come around eventually if they survive. Remember Sundance? That was the bold, raw from the other side of the tracks, and now it's kind of corporate. So there'll be something else. I think the internet is probably going to be sort of the new Sundance platform.
Yeah, they do. It's like with books now. They've got everything onto electronics now. It's like we're to the point where you don't even have to go out and read a book.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. And I think as long as we can get what we need as a being, I think we're evolving at an incredible rate. I mean, who was it? Einstein or Buckminster Fuller was talking about, acceleration, like speed of light has a finite speed. However, there's the acceleration of acceleration, which is sort of like, what did Einstein say? Let's take our old friend, the railroad train with an infinitely long flat car. And on top of this flat car, positioned way toward the end, is another railroad train. So you get the first railroad train going at the speed of light, or as close to the speed of light as you can. And then you get the railroad train on top of the railroad train. You crank it up and get it going. Now, according to Einstein's universe and math, that railroad train that's on top of the other railroad train already going at the speed of light can't go any faster yet. It is moving that fast plus more. So where does that, what does that do to your head?
Yeah.
So that I feel that's kind of going on. There is an escalation of stuff going on the planet. I think everybody feels this pressure building, that things are speeding up, things are getting more tense, it's getting weirder, and I think the artists are working and they're creating things that are more intense
it is.
Real interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I hope you and all our friends will come see me at the Days of the Dead convention in Indianapolis here, July 6th through the 8th. And next month, August 20, at the end of the month of August, I'll be at Crypticon, Kansas City. And there's a great lineup in Indianapolis. And Crypticon is also got a really fine set of guests.
Have you got any websites you want to plug in, even including your friends that you mentioned earlier in the interview? Including the film John, when that's going to be coming out?
John, it's unslated as when that'll come out. However, you can find it on Facebook as well as JON, and just Google it, and you'll find a lot of websites to choose from, as well as Bone Boys, and I think that's ready to rock. I think they presented it at South by Southwest, but it was too late for a decision to be made. And Matt Cloud, an indie director, has gotten the blessings from George Romero to do Night of the Living Dead 2012.
Oh, wow.
And I've got a role in that, so that'll be sometime in September. So I'm looking forward to that. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. If Naked Horror is doing the festival circuit, Carla Rodriguez has done that, and it's Terror Lurks in the Dreams of a Young Woman who was unfortunately, I'm sorry everybody, who's naked and discovers she's connected to the supernatural world through her psychic nightmares. So there's an evil naked chick too.
Oh yes.
Doing evil. Oh God, it's Naked Horror. That's the title.
Hell yeah. I'm so gonna watch it now. That's all you gotta mention. Naked hot chick.
Evil naked hot chick versus good naked hot chick.
Yes.
In a horror film.
Oh yes. I'm so going there right now.
Okay.
All right. There you go, everybody. That is Bill Johnson, Leatherface, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. Amongst many other films, including John.
Bone Boys, Naked Horror, Supernatural Activity, and soon, Night of the Living Dead 2012.
Yeah. That's it.